Good morning, YouTube. I am, it's about a week before Christmas, week and a half. I'm up in the Catskills. I'm actually in Woodstock, New York on a consult trip. One of the guys who brought a couple crew members and himself to my second training ever over 2 years ago. He's built a couple pools since then, and he's really kind of gonna kick it into gear in 2025 in the pool game. He is a super elite level upper end home builder in the Woodstock area up here. Builds passive homes, just ultra high efficiency homes, and obviously that's kind of what we do with pools and houses. ICF is like a cheat code when you're talking about efficiency. So you see this gorgeous little stream I get to work by all week. Really pretty place. But this pool here, he's done a couple vinyl liners, which this market is quite prone to. They like it. They like the price point, everything else. This pool here is 8 foot wide, 75 foot long lap pool, getting a very fancy plaster finish with a all tile floor. He did their house. I think he remodeled and did a huge room addition a few years ago. I got to see it last time I was here, and some of the best tile work I've ever seen. I mean, just really elite level finish work. And they're gonna do that to the pool as well. I'll show you all of what they're doing on that. But because they're doing that, obviously this is gonna be a Monopour. And a lot of it's up out of the ground. So we're using 4-inch thick Nudura panels on one side, plywood on the inside. And today is Tuesday, pouring Thursday morning. His crews are finishing up. And I'm gonna do a few things here just now to get it really sewn up nice. A couple things I saw doing a walkthrough, and I'm gonna do for them this morning so they don't have to mess with it. And then I'll give you a tour of the whole pool. Okay, guys, this wall here of the pool is going to be left exposed. It's 4 inches thick, so we can actually hide all of our plumbing inside the wall and then do a finish over the top. It's probably gonna end up being a mural. The house is right down here, so you'll be looking up at this wall. So it's gonna be a pretty artistic finish. And it's kind of cool that the plumbing is just protected inside this wall. But I'll show you over here, I'll put my drone down. This forming right here is the auto cover well and edge of the pool. There's 4-inch Nudura 1 inside there. So it's got a bit of rigidity already, but I was telling them this is all gonna be exposed. Would it blow out? Absolutely not. But this plywood between these straps, while we're vibrating, especially down 2 or 3 feet down, almost assured to try to bulge. So I'm gonna stiff that up with stiff back corners and a couple kickers right now. So they're solid. All the crew is in there tying rebar and finishing up the panels. So I'm gonna do that real quick and then give you a tour of the rest of the pool. All right, guys, we'll do it real quick. This is almost the end of the day 2, and they're basically ready to pour. You see they've got the rebar grid on 6-inch centers. It's a number 5 bar. So they got that tied down here in the floor of the pool. I just got done setting that A&A main drain. I'll show you in a second how that works. But that's a really high flow main that's got a linear cap that can receive plaster or tile, and this whole floor is getting this super fancy tile. And so we had to actually take more care. Normally if you're within half an inch of square in the bottom of a pool, no one's gonna know. But this thing, we're within a string width of perfectly square, because the tile is all 3/4 inch square tiles on like a 1/16 inch grout line. So we really need it to be straight. Anyway, one other detail I'll show you guys, and then I'll probably just jump straight to the pour tomorrow, is he did this because this is a plaster pool. This is his solution to the coning out around the pipes. He got these styrofoam balls and cut them into these and drilled holes in them. And that's almost every one of these returns has that. So again, I think I showed you guys this skimmer form stuff yesterday. They've got everything on the string line, perfect. The electrician showed up and ran bond wire around the entire thing yesterday. So she's ready to rock and roll. All right, guys, so just wanted to show you this. This is a Pentair main drain, actually made by A&A, the company that does the floor cleaning systems and really slick Venturi skimmers and everything that they make. And because this pool, we use a lot of just regular like Aquastar linears, but this is a really cool linear main. It has two parts. This part here will screw in to where when we take off that temporary cover, and then the plaster goes right up to the edge of it. But then these trays here, you can tile or plaster them. So the only thing you see is this slot. So when a really decorative finish is desired, this is about the best you can get. You know, you'll have this little gap where the pool can, you know, siphon main drain filtration. And this particular size main can do like 275 gallons a minute. So really, really neat. It's a little pricier than the regular linear mains, and definitely more pricey than the round sumps. But you know, when the artistic side is needed, or you need an absolutely high flow, this one's about unbeatable. All right, guys, I want to kind of show you what we're looking for here. If you look down in here, you can see that the third block down has webs tying it together, but the next two have nothing. See, there's no webs tied to this. It's just panels. It's got the zonts and zuckles. That stiff back on the top will keep that top nice and rigid. They put a zont right below it, so that top isn't going to move. But look at this joint down here. I just discovered this. That seam right there, the block below and the block above have nothing. So what I'm fixing to do is slide some 2x4 stiff backs in here. I don't have to use a zont. I'm just going to toe screw it in behind the stiff back braces, the vertical 2x4s here. Obviously it's spaced exactly a 2x4 because boom. So I can do that pretty easily, because otherwise that is going to bulge 100%. And we don't want that, because the equipment pad's back here. So this wall, while being stuccoed or something, it's going to show, and we want that to be a nice, beautiful plane. So this is the kind of stuff he's got me here for, is just looking over. When you start cutting away webs and using this as kind of an off-label use, you really have to think about what the pressure is going to do during the pour. You don't want to have to be trying to fix this during the pour. All right, so after I got doing this, I noticed something, because I said this top one and this next one do not have any webbing, which I showed you guys. But then it occurs to me, this bottom one that does have webbing tying it to the block on the other side, so it shouldn't bulge out, the concrete's going to be on the outside of that entire block, filling up that center. So I put two more down here just to continue to brace it. Now, if you're worried about the whole bottom kicking out, because those aren't really kicked into the earth, that zont right there is screwed to a finished block, so that there's concrete in there, so it can't bulge out as long as those screws hold. Now we're completely steady in all the areas that don't have support. So those are the little things you got to look at whenever you're doing these monopours, when you're actually cutting away support to make a three-dimensional space like this cover well. So yeah, it's hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so this is the inside of that same area. So there's so little, there's no ties holding any of this together. So that's why they've got all of these 2x4s. This horizontal whaler here is going to try to keep that bottom from bulging. And so now what they'll do tomorrow is they're going to install kickers diagonal into this wall. And all these walls are braced really well, so they're not going to move. So this is kind of how you have to do certain kind of sketchier parts of the forming. I'll give you a quick tour here. These are all his bucks for his lights. Something this pool is getting that's interesting, and it was engineered to be designed. Those light niches are actually for underwater speakers. These people train for triathlons and stuff, and they wanted a certain like cadence and stuff like that playing into the water. So there's one of these, they kind of run diagonal. There's one there, and then there's one there, and then there's one down by him, there's one down at the end, zigzag. So as they're swimming, there will always be one within a certain number of feet. Like they know how far out the sound carries at what angle, so they actually laid it out according. So they're also putting a cove on here. Now this pool's getting plastered, so the fact that this cove is kind of like right out here, there's going to be a little flat spot on the bottom of the plywood that they'll have to kind of ease with the grinder, and then the plaster guy can fix that up. I did this on my first 3 Eco Finish Nudura 1 pools. The pools on Dolphin Island and the pools in the commercial pool I did. And I just thought it was too big of a pain to continue doing. But after seeing them do it this way, they didn't quite get as, like, you know, crazy about the, I treated it like I was building cabinet work, and it just took way too long. But one of the things we're starting to do with a new product Joey's coming out with is this cove actually makes a lot of sense. That's about all I'll say about it, but it'll be really, really slick system where we're not having to take a hot saw at the mono legs when we're done. All right, guys. Pour day has commenced. Mud showed up an hour late. Couple things is they would not allow us to put, here's John, he was at training a couple years ago. They wouldn't let us put plasticizer in the mud this time of year, whatever that means. And the slump on the first truck was a little wet. Not bad though, not bad. Workable, but just it's probably a 5. So I got it to stack up in the wall most of the way. But I think the first truck's pulling out, second truck's gonna pull in. I'm gonna run down there and make sure he doesn't get too wet. I'm gonna run the first couple trucks and get it plugged up, and then I'll try to shoot more video with you guys. But right now I'm actually on the pump, so we'll see how it goes. So they just barely reached this far corner. This is the second truck. The mud's a little bit tighter, a little closer to a real 4, but we only put 2% NCA in the first truck, so this one's got 1%. It won't kick off quite as quick, but I was able about halfway through to get about a foot of mud up in the wall. So I think we're in good shape. If we can get this wall plugged up and just keep going in the wall. I'd like to not finish the floor till the end just to keep from getting splatter in there. You can kind of see they're magging off at the bottom of the cove. She's vibrating ahead, and then we got a big, awesome Milwaukee vibrator that will vibrate every course of pour into the one before it once we start putting the next layer on. Yeah, Dan bought the big battery-powered Milwaukee vibrator. It's pretty impressive for a battery vibrator. Very similar to the DeWalt Power Shift stuff. And he did that to make sure we could vibrate it down from the top because he's got an immense amount of rebar in the walls. So fun fact, while they're pouring out that second truck, this is John. He's one of Dan's guys, and my second training I ever did, Dan brought him and his mason over here, who's actually already built his own personal pool. So there's 3 of them that came in, and just the kind of work they do, just to kind of show you something funny. This is the piers for like a cabana, or like a little pool hangout area with a roof. But I was looking at it, and I can tell these are below grade. But if you can look at how good this looks, it's like finished, beautiful, decorative concrete piers, and they're getting buried. They really do just ultra high-end work up here in the Catskills, the Woodstock area. So just kind of you kind of see little things that are indicative of guys that really give a crap. So they've got this completely under control. These guys are super talented. I said I poured the first truck out, and I went down to watch the mix because that's my entire job today, is making sure that none of the truck drivers get an attitude and get too wet. So the second guy had a little better consistency than the first guy. The first guy was 15 minutes later. That he was supposed to be 45 minutes late. He showed up a little after an hour, meaning I think he probably put some water in the truck on the road. And he was at about a 6, so it was a little harder to get him to stack up, but it's going super smooth now. All right, so you can see them working their way back this way. This is where we started on this end. I started pouring right about here, so all this is still empty. We'll make this complete pass, and I am pretty confident. I mean, I don't want them to top the wall, but I'm going to have them get, this is a 4.5 foot wall. I'm going to have them get at least 3 foot plus, probably to that seam right there, where we can vibrate one into the other, get it nice and creamed up. But you see the process they're doing. John's pouring. Right behind him, she is vibrating, just right behind him to kind of get that rebar entrained real tight up underneath the wall. And then right behind him, and the other vibrator, the guy is kind of just hammering the wall. And that's a thing we do when we're trying to make the wall look as smooth as possible, have as few air bubbles. Vibrator gets rid of the air, but it won't get rid of air that's stuck to the form. So after the vibrator's done moving air around and getting rid of as much as possible, we have them beat on the wall. And it usually produces a pretty slick wall. Okay, so you see John up here. He's basically getting concrete to about 4 to 5 inches from the top. Once they vibrate it, it's about 8 inches down to 10 inches down. They spend a little time vibrating the steps, trying to get all the concrete placed out into those. And so when they get here, this is the last little puckery thing we got to do. You can see how the concrete down in here is in the wall, but it's also in that cavity behind the wall. And that's why I put all these extra whalers and around the Zonson stuff behind the stiff backs, because I'm trying to keep that from moving at all, because none of this has any webbing. This is all just completely formed up with carpentry to hold it back. And they're doing they're monopouring the auto cover well, which they could have done after, but this is all out of the ground. So it's better to just do it all at once, given if it was in the ground, I'd almost always do it after because it would be fine. But this is a much more robust structure since it's kind of finished product. So as John is getting this up just about 3 or 4 or 5 inches above the bottom of the well buck, we got the guy with the big vibrator on the outside and the guy on the inside with the little Makita pencil vibrator, and they're both kind of going in at an angle, and you can see it dropping under there, trying to knock all the air out. So yeah, they're just trying to jam it all under there, get all the air they can out with the stinger.
You need to get this back?
Yeah, we do. So, super small issue, and they're vibrating. They got a little bulge in it, but look at this. You got a whole team of guys over here adding more turnbuckles and getting ready to push this puppy straight. When the turnbuckle's not strong enough, straighten it out with the skid steer.
Okay, they got that straightened out. The real issue was that the ground had frozen and thawed like 3 times that week, and it was getting very soggy, so that concrete was able to actually push the pins over a little bit. But by pushing it with the skid steer and adding a bunch more pins and turnbuckles, they got it straightened out. Here you can see them vibrating the floor concrete into the original pour, where could create a cold joint, but they did it at the perfect time, and it worked out great.
All right, guys, I guess I pumped one truck out, but Dan's guys have absolutely killed it today. Everything's done. It was 58 yards. I'm going to spin it around here and give you a quick tour of the end of this thing, because I'm fixing to head back to the Airbnb and get a little rest. I got to get up at like 2 a.m. and head for the airport and get home. Big progress on the element build this week too. You may see it before you see this. So, guys are finishing up. Hand trowel on the floor. It's already good enough considering it's getting plaster. Some of the other guys are attaching some concrete blankets to the side that they're going to drape over the entire pool, because it's going to get very cold next week. I about fell down. It's going to get super cold next week. And they're just going to keep it blanketed. Dan's crew takes the week of Christmas off, so by the time you're seeing this, they will be enjoying the holiday. They deserve it after doing this. And so they'll be back after the holidays to strip it and kind of grind out a few things for the plaster guys. And this entire area back here, it's kind of hard to imagine it right now, but this entire area where I'm standing is kind of an elevated deck all back in here. They got a bocce ball court down there, a whole bunch of solar on a big array there. And like I said, this is going to be just a really amazingly artisanal lap pool. They're gonna, like I said, they do a little bit of triathlon stuff, and this is a 75-foot long, almost 25-meter pool that will give them a great place to train with an auto cover, so they can keep this thing open year-round if they choose to. But anyway, guys, Dan's crew did absolutely killer. They do amazing work. I've got to see inside that house last time I was here, and I mean the tile work, the details are, you know, really kind of next level. And when he was in Springfield at training, we took him to a few of the houses we've done, and he caught some of the details that a lot of people would just miss, because he's got a really trained eye for the details. But he's also really on the high end of passive houses, and you know, super efficient, which is what attracted him to ICF pools. And I will tell you, Dan is getting heavier and heavier into pools every day. I expect him to do big things in the Woodstock market in the pool game in the coming year or two. And yeah, guys, if it's before Christmas and you're seeing this, Merry Christmas. If not, Happy New Year. And I will see you guys in January. Absolutely packed January with Rental It and World of Concrete content.